first we wanted to introduce ourselves. So yeah, I'm Laura. Nice to meet you. I'm from Spain, but I'm currently living in Stockholm, and I'm working at Ericsson since 1.5 years, more or less already. And right now I'm working as the design lead for the Ericsson design system, the EDS that we call it. So yeah, more or less this is me. I like regular stuff, enjoying staying with my friends, my family, and good wine. I think it's my presentation. So yeah. So Katia, do you want to say a few words about yourself or
yeah? Sure. I'm from Russia, but I've been with Ericsson also about 2 years. As front-end developer, I'm working on different types of components for Ericsson design system, but I can say that actually interested in interactive data visualization is something that brought me to coding. So this is my favorite part of work.
Okay. Yeah, really interesting, this data visualization. Okay, thank you, Katia. So, well, for the things that we want to share today, we have divided the presentation like in 3 big blocks. The first one is like an introduction of our company. It's a quick one, but I think it's we think it's better for you to understand what we are gonna say and to give you some kind of context. The second part, it's about more related with design and the visual aspect, and the third one about this coding and implementation and the technical stuff. So yeah, if we go to the intro part, I can say about Ericsson. I'm not sure if everyone is familiar or not, but at least I can tell it's a big company. We are it's 140 years old, so imagine the history behind. And now we are more than 100,000 employees. And Ericsson now owns more than 49,000 patents already. So yeah, like I was saying, imagine the knowledge and the experience behind in the telecommunications since the very beginning. So to give you more context, Ericsson, probably some people think that we don't sell phones anymore. It's because that was only like a small part of our core business. The big part of our business, we are more B2B. Yeah, we are more into B2B industry. I can tell that the core business is more of this kind of network deployment, right? So, and with this network deployment, I mean all the service software and hardware that applies to network rollout across the entire globe. So if you look at I like this picture because if you look at the rooftops, probably you can see some antennas there, and probably they are from our company. But we are not only selling this. This is a huge core business, as I was mentioning, but this kind of experience and knowledge has brought us to the point that we are now. We are leading the most innovative technologies right now in the market, in the industry, like IoT or virtual reality, connected vehicles, the 5G right now, and the future 6G. We are already working on that. So I think it's as designers or developers, it's really interesting. I can tell. And when we talk about users, we are gonna talk and we are gonna say this word a lot, right, during the presentation. When we say our users, we can divide. I mean, we have mainly internal users for our colleagues, but also we have external ones. But if we have to, for us, of course, we always do this design thinking and UX methodology, putting the human in the center and the user in the center of our products. But we always try to think in all the scenarios possible. So we put these 2 pictures here because I think it displays very well you can imagine some people working with a laptop or with a big screen, or even these big screens in this monitoring centers to check how is the network working. But also we have people that actually they are working on the field, right? All the engineers and people installing these services. So I think it's really good to have this in mind. Yeah, we have different design teams across the world as well. now it's getting yeah, the industry and it's getting more more companies are adopting this methodology, which is very good. So, and we are growing and evolving, so it's very nice. And then it leads us to the Ericsson design system. So how can we thought a few years ago, how can we brought all this consistency, the one design that we call it across the entire company with such a huge portfolio. We have a lot of different products, digital products, I mean. So how do we put everything together with the same consistency, with useful products? They should be usable, they should be following the brand guidelines. So with the design system, right? So the Ericsson design system, the ADS. So this provides all the, we try to provide all this, yeah, the guidelines, the components, the asset, all the coded components created already to create all these products, all these experiences, aligning with the brand, as I was mentioning before. So I want to share a video. It's 1 minute 20 seconds. It's not so long, but I think it gives a very good overview of the design system. Afterwards, we're going to share the link as well in case that someone cannot see it. Okay.
We at Ericsson are on a mission to create game-changing technology that is easy to use, adapt, and scale. Introducing the Ericsson Design System, an ever-evolving design framework co-created by more than 25,000 Ericsson engineers and designers across the globe. It will help us offer our customers a best-in-class product experience and a consistent journey across our digital portfolio. With specific focus on the user's needs, the Ericsson Design System offers a responsive, state-of-the-art platform to display complex data streams in an easy way. The iconic data visualization and clear navigation patterns adapt to different work environments and proficiency levels. Offering access to comprehensive guidelines, on-demand assets, and ready-to-use code and components. The Ericsson Design System is built to create robust and meaningful customer experiences faster and more efficiently. Ericsson Design System. Global, intuitive, accessible. All in the quest for easy.
Okay, so yeah, I think like I was mentioning, how did we bring all these these foundations, right? The principles that we have on Ericsson, we have like these main 4 pillars, and we also had the foundations and our principles on the design system, but at the same time we have to connect. When we are talking about data visualization and creating charts, we are trying to connect all these elements together, and we have it always as our motto, right? So the main one is by people for people. It's user center. So this is our main goal always, and that is why we are talking about users all the time. And it's really good that we have this in mind since the very beginning when we are working on developing a new chart. So it has to be this, it has to have this contextual UI contrast. It has to be actionable first. These are some of our foundations. Also, how do we achieve this focus simplicity? It's okay, let's get rid of everything that is not necessary in our charts. So that way it has to be simple, but yeah, good to, I mean, useful and usable. Another thing that we didn't want to lose is beautiful utility. It's like, okay, we don't need to, we have to think about the aesthetic part, right? It has to be beautiful and a really good experience for the users is part of the entire experience. And also connected coherence. It's how do we achieve this with the like prioritizing and giving some visual hierarchy. So, and in charts, this is very challenging because normally for our users, they need to display like very complex data and analysis, and displaying this in the same screen. Yeah, it's challenging, but it's really interesting. So when we are talking about designing charts, let's go to this part directly. First, I think it's good for you to see some kind of overview of the charts that we already have. We are having right now, we are producing and delivering 2 themes, the light theme and the dark theme. One of the reasons behind that is because, as I was mentioning before, we have very, very different users. So imagine it's not the same, the person that is in charge, I mean, it's on the field, like checking some kind of phone with a smaller screen, with the sun, or with cloudy, or with glows, right? That, and it's not the same with comparing this with a person that it's on a with their laptop, or in these monitoring centers where they have to check the performance of the network. So the light, it's different. So we have to follow all the accessibility and the contrast ratios, etc. So here are the 2 examples of the single series for the dark theme and the light theme. But we also are covering the multi-series. In the majority of the charts, you have both options. In some others that there is no possible, or it's only one type of series. We only have one, of course, but these are the examples of the multi-series for the light and the dark theme. So when we have to define the chart types, or for the users, when they are creating their products and they say, okay, we have to display some kind of the data visualization, how do we choose from one chart to another? So it's a matter of choosing the type of analysis and the type of data that you want to display. So for the analysis, now we are covering by comparison, distribution, part of a whole, pattern analysis, anomaly, range, and relationships. And for the type of data, by categories, if it's continuous data, if they are single series or multi-series, like I was mentioning before, if it has limits or relational. So if we see like this kind of overview, like a simplistic one, now we have all these charts with all these combinations that I was mentioning, single, multi, etc. Right now, all this in our design system, because it depends on design system and depending on the company as well, every time that we design a new chart, it's developed as well. So every release, we design and develop and launch the running component already. It's not only design process. So we have this horizontal bar chart, the vertical bar chart, the histograms, line chart. We also have the scatter plot and the bubble chart. The box plot, this is recently new addition and very interesting one. We also have, for topology purposes, we have these 2 big charts, the hierarchy one, the hierarchy chart, and the logical view. We also have the donut for this whole part of the whole, the gauges, the radar chart, the heat map, and the stacked area chart. So as I was saying, depending on your needs, you will use one of or others. So what do we need to achieve to create this consistency across all our products and all the charts? Is we have to have this visual coherence, right? So to establish this, we, since the very beginning, when starting from these foundations that I was mentioning before, and these principles, we say, okay, we need some kind of common elements to create this layout. So these are the ones that we have here, the title and the subtitle. They normally have this, regardless of the chart that we are using. You can find the legends or the filtering with fields. We are having it right now. The axis, the ticks, the grid on the background, this crosshair on hover, the tooltip. So, and to achieve this, it maybe sounds obvious, right? That we have to have always the same. For example, here 14 pixel, our typography that we are using, the color should be the same always. But probably you know that it's very common to commit small mistakes or inconsistencies across big design systems. We are always learning and evolving, but we are always trying to find and to keep this consistency. It's one of our top priorities, of course. So if we talk about color palette, well, as a designer, I'm not sure how many designers are here or not. It doesn't matter, but this is my personal thought, but I think that every time that we speak about colors, you can find very different opinions, and sometimes it's hard to differentiate our personal tastes, our personal preferences, and differentiate them from the things that really work. So it's when we decide to create colors for the design system, we thought, okay, how can we achieve this consistency? How can we follow the branding guidelines? So as we have this light and dark, as I was mentioning, we have always in mind the accessibility potential issues that we can find. So that is why we don't use, for example, this black or pure white or pure black. We use slightly light gray, right, or dark gray. So the same. So we have created 3 big palettes. The one for the UI, all the backgrounds, text, buttons, and etc. The database colors. That it's we started with a few colors, and now we have a huge palette. And like I was saying, this is an evolution and a learning process. So, and it's really interesting because every time we apply or we design something new, it's because of the user's feedback. So it's learning all the time. And for maps, it's another thing that it should be considered a part. So it is a big thing as well. So if we talk about the data visualization, we have these 4 palettes. The main one, or the most common one, is the categorical one, the categorical colors. We have a portal, a website where we upload all the components, all the guidelines, all the visuals, all the resources there, and we always try to share with our community, with the users that they are going to use these assets, what is the logic behind. So we also do recommendations on how to use the colors, etc. So this is we have already 20 colors for this. This is the sequential colors, or divergent, to display more kind of ranges. It's different purposes, and also the status colors. So if I show you some examples about this categorical palette, as I was mentioning before, we have this stacked bar chart, the line, and this one. So we, regardless of the chart, as you can see, right, we have to keep this consistency, and we are using these colors in the same order. The first one is the gray. This is the order that we recommend. But for these categorical colors, we have also learned that it's not, it's not only, or sometimes it's not enough with these 20 colors and this order. So, and it's hard to believe sometimes, right? Because you think, how many colors do you need to display on a single, or on this chart? Imagine 20 lines of different colors. So, we have very edge cases and different contents used. So the thing is that we lately, it's very new and recently launched this thing. We have created some alternatives on how to use colors to give more options to the users, and we have learned this from the users. Here you can find the other examples for these palettes. As I was mentioning, it's not that common to find, because they are more for these specific charts, the sequential or the divergent. And also for the status, I think it's interesting. It's more specific as well, when you need to display some kind of severity or criticality. So more or less this is my part. Kate, if you want to continue with yours.
Yeah, sure.
Let me stop share. Yeah.
Okay, can you see my screen, right? Or not? Yeah, I think you can see it. Okay, so Laura showed our extensive chart library, but I can say that it was not always as big. We constantly add new charts and update existing, and our community helps with that a lot. So usually it starts with a request from some external team, and if we decide that this can be a good, useful for other teams, we include it to EDS. So during the research phase, we explore existing third-party solutions, looking for examples on observable and other sources. Also, we are doing interviews that help us to understand how this chart will be used. Then we produce a document called work request with all that information. And based on that, the designer creates a design, usually in Sketch, but right now we're in the migration to Adobe XD. Then the developer does the implementation, and for that we're using D3.js library. And finally, we create a documentation for our portal. It includes overview of the chart, data considerations, alternatives, and a number of interactive examples. So we talked about chart structure, but let's look how it's implemented. Well, in general, EDS is compatible with different JavaScript frameworks because our components are written in vanilla JavaScript, and each component logic is encapsulated in its own class, and this is applies to charts as well. So here you can see UML diagrams that illustrate classes and connections between them. So each diagram is a class of its properties and its methods. So for charts, we're using D3.js, and if you worked with it, you know that it's very flexible library, but it also means that you need to write a lot of code every time. So we are having different types of common components, like for legend, tooltips, access, and everything like that. And every chart is a separate class where you create an instance of that class and store it in this object. So what's also noticeable that all charts have the same methods. Init method is used when you create a chart and create everything that is static, and attach event listeners. For example, when you resize a window, you need to change width of SVG element. Destroy method is used to remove all event listeners to avoid memory leaks. Draw method is used after init, and every time you need to update the chart with new data. So this consistent implementation helps us to create new charts more or less easily, and also add new features because you can just create a class with this new feature and add it to all charts. So for users, it's convenient because if they can work with one chart, they know that in other charts, all the methods are pretty much the same, and as well as properties that can help them customize charts. Axes are reference lines with label ticks. To create an axis, you need a scale, and if you worked with D3, you probably know the concept of domain and range. Basically, domain is the difference between maximum and minimum values, and the range is the physical distance in pixels. So there are many different scales, but we are using usually these three: linear, logarithmic, and time scales. And when you create an axis with D3, it creates for you SVG elements so-called domain path ticks and labels, and you can style them. So we decided that we want to reduce visual noise, and usually one axis has this solid line with ticks and labels, and in this case another axis will not have the solid line, but it will have those dashed grid lines. And sometimes it makes sense to invert the position, like here the vertical lines are grid lines. So for the legend, we are using our EDS component called pills, and because our legend is working also as a filter. So here you can see two different charts, but the behavior of the legend is identical. When you hover over a pill, this corresponding data series is highlighted. Clicking on the pill works as toggles if you want to filter out data that you don't want to show on the chart, and data update is supported by animation. Tooltips appear when you hover over some data point to display additional information. And in the beginning, we had the same tooltip component for all charts because it worked very well. So in the top, you have a common data value, and under the line, you have data series and corresponding individual values on this type of chart. Y-axis values, and here like x-axis values. But then we started to have more complex charts, and they required some custom labels or custom icons or even additional elements. And our tooltip couldn't support that, and we had to create a new tooltip component every time. So it was very inconvenient, and we decided to have a workshop within our team, discussed all the existing use cases and possible future scenarios. This is a mirror board that we use for that exploration. And we decided to have a general tooltip component. It is less smart and it's more abstract. And the idea is that tooltips is basically a table, and the data that you need to show in that table is coming from the outer component, the actual chart component, as an array of objects. Every object is a row in that table. So here you can set if you want to show not only the data, but also like style of the font, color of the icon and type of the icon, and whether you want to show the line after the row or not. So by providing this solution, we are trying to keep consistent design along all our charts and minimize styling alternatives. But we understand that sometimes people have very specific use cases, and we want to give them some flexibility. So here is a list of things that we can, users can customize in our charts. So height of chart, depending on space you have, you can set different custom height. Margins is used if you have very long labels, you can set different margins around the chart to fit them. Formatting X values is supported in both in tooltips and Axis. We're using D3 formatting. So for example, this can be data object, but you want to show only year or only months plus year, and so different types of that. Thresholds are used when you want to apply a different color for values that above or below some number. This is a relatively new feature, data markers. If you want to highlight some points or intervals on the chart, points of interest, it can be dates or some like similar to thresholds things. Also, color scale, as Laura told before, users should use existing palette, but they can offset, reverse, and group colors in different ways. And also, event and click is can be used when you interact with chart in some way, like click on it and you want to display some additional information, different chart or like a table, whatever. So we just give them API to create those, apply those callbacks. So we talked about some elements of our charts, and maybe let's have a look at real examples when they're all together in dashboards. Okay, Laura, do you want to?
Yeah, thank you, Katia. You can keep sharing if you don't mind. Yeah, like Katia mentioned, we have all the pieces now. It's a matter of putting them together, right? It's not only, yeah, it's tricky. Like when we were talking about our users, it's okay. Now we need to display all this information. So here we have an example with some KPIs and line charts and these gauges as well. If you go to the next one. Yeah, here, for example, this is a very interesting product. It's very new as well. Well, this is only a screen from this product. They have developed like a lot of them, and it's they need to display very different kind of data on. It's for the performance of a factory and inventory and these kind of things in China, and it's also a challenge because they need to work sometimes in these big screens, but they are also touchable screens. So the interactions with the tooltips and with the hovers, and this is another interesting challenge that they are facing and it's going very well because they have made some user testing and it's working good. Yeah, the next one. Yeah, you mentioned something about this, Katia, right? That you consider this interesting for some reason, this example?
Yeah, so basically they have an application where they can customize a dashboard, like the end user can customize it by adding different types of charts to the dashboard and reorganize them.
Yeah, to give this flexibility. Yeah, yeah, this is another example. Example, we have a lot of them, but yeah, you can see here on the side the option of open this this filter or this drawer to click on certain elements, and at the same time you can interact with the charts that you have on the other side. So yeah, I think it's everything already shared, right? Yeah, so I was not sure, Patrick or Nina, because I saw some questions in the chat. We can share more things, or whatever you said.
Let me read them out, so then people who are not reading the chat and don't know what it is and will be in the recording as well. So I'll go with the first one here that I see. It's from Jasper. And he's asking, what is the reason for using pixels over some more relative size definitions? And he mentions this in the relationship to one of the slides called coherent consistency, where you said like the border should be this many pixels, and for instance, the distance here should be these many pixels, because we're wondering about how that would work on different screen sizes. You mentioned like we have, I'm guessing for both mobile, which was in the question, and also like larger ones if you have larger touchscreen devices.
Yes, yeah, I'm not sure, Kat, if you probably you will answer this better, because yeah, we have this responsiveness in mind all the time. I mean, all the charts and the components that we have, they are responsive no matter the size of the screen. We are also working, it's not here, but we are working on the mobile specific assets. But right now it should it's working on all the different devices. But I'm not sure if probably I didn't explain it well. These pixels and points for this.
Well, I can say that yeah, our charts are responsive horizontally, but about pixels, I can't really answer. I think there are some predefined styles, font sizes. Yeah, maybe it's something that can be reviewed, but I have a feeling that it's maybe a bit difficult with SVG because it's not as flexible as normal CSS. But yeah, maybe need to take a look into that.
Yeah, I'm might maybe include that. You're saying SVG, so probably if it's smaller, you basically just shrink the viewport, and it will still, even if you define it with pixels, it will still, if you squeeze the SVG with the viewport, they will keep the relationship between the different parts always. So let's see what the next question is. We had something from George. Could you give us some insight into the typeface choice? Was it already part of the brand guideline, or was it specifically made for to use with this like graphical interface?
Yeah, the typeface, the typography that we have is it's made for, from our brand house. We call it the brand house, and it's only for Ericsson purposes. So we have our own. It's really cool. Let me check in the meantime. I can check for the link, because probably there are something there that we can share. And if you're interested, it's really nice. The last updates from I think it's from 2-3 years ago, and we are working right now on something new that is coming. So yeah, it's really interesting.
All right, super. I hope we can look at that, and we'll look forward to that link. And we have from Alenka is asking, well, to start with, she's saying it's a super interesting talk, and I agree. Can you maybe explain a bit on how you write the code so the customer can customize their dashboard? So is that you showed a screenshot where you had people dragging and dropping things, but can you do that in code as well to customize charts? And how do you make it as flexible?
Okay, so those last 4 screenshots is not what we are making. We are providing components for the design system, and people are building their applications with our components. So basically, we provide just components for charts in this case, but in all other stuff. So I think it's like simple JavaScript drag and drop, but the whole idea is that when you create a chart, you just create an instance of JavaScript class, like you write line chart equals new line chart, and you pass some data and element, and you can customize some properties. If you're interested in that, how to do it, I can maybe recommend, there's a course on Udemy called Mastering Data Visualization in D3, and they have a special section how to organize your code, how to like create object-oriented D3 charts. So it's pretty much what we do. Super.
And I have a question. I have a lot of other people have one, but I'm the moderator, so I get to choose, right? So you're mentioning D3 a lot. Have you considered other libraries, some higher order ones that make it? I'm not really sure that makes this a little bit easier. Why did you choose D3? It's a pretty hard language to learn.
When I came to the team, it was already chosen, so I'm not sure what was if they considered something else or not. Yeah, but I guess it's because it's JavaScript, and our design system is vanilla JavaScript, and it's very flexible. So if you use like chart.js or something, it would be pretty hard to customize it for Ericsson brand. That's how I see it.
Yeah, super. So let's get the next one here, and I'll look at these two are, I think, maybe a little bit related. It's a question by Nina and Jonathan. And Nina is asking, how do you prioritize user requests? And Jonathan is asking, how do you validate a module through the process until it's fully integrated? So I'm going to add them together. So how does it go, like a little bit? How do you validate that the module is doing as it should, both code-wise and from a user perspective? And how do you actually get user requests that for those modules, and how do you prioritize?
Yeah, for the user request, I can tell that it's very tricky, and yeah, we have this question a lot, even inside the company sometimes. Yeah, because it's a combination of things. It's not that easy to choose. Okay, this is the high priority. So we need to combine for every release. We need to check what are the most demanded components or charts in this case that we are talking about charts. If these charts, if they can solve not only one use case, if probably it's not very demanded, but we have discovered that this chart is solving a lot of use cases and it's going to be helpful for a lot of teams. So then it makes sense as well. And also, I think depends on every, like in other companies, resources, timeline, and everything that you have. So it's a combination of these things. So we try to do. It's also a combination between manual work in that sense, like okay, we have to sit together and decide, and sometimes we try to work with our backlog. It's something that we're improving as well. So, but it's challenging, yeah.
Yeah, and the second part was basically how you validate the module. And once you have your user requirements and you start to do all your designing and figured out how it should work together, how do you validate it from through the process until it's ready to be fully integrated?
Yeah, I can from the from more the generic perspective, I can tell. Yeah, we try to bring, or we bring every time that we can. I mean, the process that Katia was sharing, we work by squads, right? And since the very beginning, we try to work all the researcher, designer, developer, and the content strategies more or less together during all the process. And before, yeah, it's sometimes they overlap this process, right? So when the designer is finishing more or less the design, the developer is working on testing things, implementing a few parts, not the very last things. And it's during that period when we try to do some kind of user testing. Again, depending on the time and the resources that we have, but we try to at least test before implementing this. And once it's implemented and once we launch it, we do this release and we share and we publish it. But it never, I mean, it's not stopped there. I mean, it's okay, now we have this chart is working, but we are trying to collect feedback all the time and learning and evolving. So sometimes the things that Katia was sharing, the data markers, this tooltip, this thing, the color palette, that it's super big now. We have learned these things iterating and testing with the users all the time.
Yeah, maybe I can add this work request document that we create during the research phase. It includes specifically all the features and examples that we are going to release. So in the beginning, you know what you need to do and how this should work and look like. So I think we go through it, but yeah, then based on the feedback, we can update. And also, of course, we have some bug reports from the community or feature requests, and we update charts all the time.
All right. And I'm going to sneak in one more before I'm going to take one from Nina. So you mentioned accessibility a couple of times. And I was just wondering, do you do that only in terms of contrast, or do you work on that even more like for screen readers and other like low contrast vision? It's one way to do accessibility, but there are more ways, right? What if I can't even see the chart, or how are you thinking about that?
Yeah, it's a very good question, and this is something that we always have in mind, and we are trying to learn, of course, as well. Yeah, right now we are covering in terms of contrast, everything that it's possible. We are passing all the contrast ratios, etc. But for this more advanced things, like you were saying, imagine that I'm not able of seeing a screen. We don't have right now this discover, but yeah, we have. I'm reminding one of our colleagues is another developer. He's very into this thing, and we are trying to learn and like introduce this more in the design system. Yeah, for sure.
Right, and then Nina is wondering here, like, we're talking a lot about the users. Are these developers or are they business people? And and how does that actually work? And she has a follow-up question as well, and that was, do people who want to, like, let's say that I'm also a business person, that I'm doing a presentation, how do I get access to this design system? Do I have to read it myself, or do you provide it as tools? Do I need to use tools that somebody else has built to like get access to one the design specifications, almost like that interface that you have designed? What's a user, and how can they use this design system?
Yeah, if we differentiate the users, we can, because we say users all the time and probably it's confusing sometimes. Yeah, we have our end user, right? It's the person that is going to use and read the interface and interact with the interface. But if we talk about EDS users, the ones that that we interact with, normally we can put them in a big bag of designers and developers normally, because they are the ones that they are gonna develop the product, right? So normally we are speaking with these two main groups, but also we have, of course, these business persons, as you were saying, some kind of stakeholders or decision makers that they if we start with a new product, they eventually know about the existence of EDS, and they decide to I mean, we recommend, of course, it's because EDS is brand compliant, so it's the official system that you should use on your products. But you have to consider as well that as an old company, we have a lot of legacy, right, with complex products as well. But yes, so our users from EDS, they are mainly these two groups, but we can find these decision makers. And yeah, and how we communicate with them, the ones that they are using EDS all the time, we have our internal portal. We call it the portal. It's a website where we provide all the assets, the foundations, the documentation, the resources, the coding. It's everything there. So they just go there and find whatever they need. And also we have some channels, some communication channels, like internal ones on Teams. We have support as well. Every day we receive questions and we try to, and I think this is as well part of the evolution but now the engagement with the users, it's very good. Even though we are separated and we are far away and we are a lot of people, but we are very well connected and aligned. I'm not sure, Katia, if you want to, if I'm missing something regarding developers part as well.
I think maybe it's a good place to just show our portal, so it could be clear what we're talking about.
Yes.
Right. So I'm already on the page for data viz, and well, basically we have some guidelines how to start, how to install EDS and stuff like that. And then they can read through the documentation, see some interactive examples, and code that they need to use to create those specific charts. So basically, the people who are creating products, they use it as like a guidelines.
Right. So this is like a storybook for people who work in the field,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Super. And I think we are. Well, actually, I thought we didn't have more questions, but we do. In terms of animations, how do you design and think about how animations should behave or provide a better experience to the user? So I worked, and I'll just add that I worked for a newspaper for a while, and we had a lot of animations, and it was always like, how should things come in from the side? Should they bounce? How fast do they go out? Do you take all these things into the considerations when you do design the animations for like how things should expand or contract and the speed? How do you work with animations?
Yes, we normally try to differentiate all the branding guidelines. That for that, this is more for marketing communication. We have very, very good guidelines, and it's very well explained. And for more for products and for the design system, right now we have the as one of our principles is this simplicity. We have a very basic, very basic animations. It's like fade-ins and not very complex. But this is something as well in our backlog to start working or focusing more in. Like I was mentioning, this year is one of the big things is mobile. That it's really cool. One of the two main things that they are coming is 3D. How to work with the 3D elements, as you know, right? We have this hardware, a lot of pieces for products, and motion is another part that we have to be aligned with the brand, but also we are going to put more interesting stuff for mobile. It comes very late as well, but now it's very simple ones.
All right, super. And then Nina is interested in maps, and so am I. So I didn't see anything about on any map out there. Do you have any guidelines for how you work with them?
Yeah, that's actually, I can share the screen. A very big topic.
It's very hard.
We have, yeah, a lot of information about geographical maps, like what libraries use, working with some, like really a lot of information, some demos here with some styling. So I don't know, actually we have Anton here who created all that magic. So yeah, maybe if someone is interested, you can contact him and he will explain in more details, because I didn't work with that part in particular a lot.
I can add one thing, Katia, is that like Patrick was saying, I think it's really interesting, really challenging, and super hard to find references from other design systems. Because it's already the things that are there. The libraries is MapTiler, Google Maps, Leaflets, this kind of. But you don't find like the most big design systems. They don't provide these things, so it was challenging. And yeah, we have Anton here, the master of this creation.
Yeah. So I'll finish off with one thing. So when you are researching a chart or the design system or something, where do you go for inspiration? Where do you look for it, and what do you like? Basically, what do you like when you go out there and look in the world? What other examples there are?
Well, I can, because designers we look for normally in one places, right? And developers, I believe the most generic ones we have as a reference. We always have our personal tastes, but normally material and carbon, they are good references because they are big and they are doing yeah, good things, and the users are used to that things. For example, for maps, it was one of the yeah, we try to follow a lot of Google Maps because the majority of the regular user of everything normally it's Android, and they are used to Google Maps. So why we don't need to invent a lot of new things? So, but yeah, it depends. I don't know, and for libraries and other things, I'm not sure, Katia, if you want to share your favorite ones.
Well, I think usually we're looking in the beginning at just some websites that about statistics and data visualization in general. I think the good website is dataviz.catalog.com because they have this overview of dataviz, and their examples are very simple, but in the beginning, it's what's important to know the essence of the chart and how it will be used, because all the styling and branding you can apply later. And also understanding the user's needs just reminds me how we worked on box plot chart, because this chart is very specific and not everyone can read it, right? You need to know what this chart shows. So yeah, we had some interviews to understand how people will actually use it in their apps, and what they need to see in the tooltips in particular. Right. And I like observable because, of course, these 3 examples you just can see how to implement stuff.
Yeah. So that was you mentioned it was the data visualization catalog, right? Where you go sometimes to look?
Yeah.
Yeah. Super. Right. Sorry, I need to go. Right. So we're actually getting to the end of this talk now. And if anyone wants to join for some networking, I know that Nina posted a link a little bit earlier. We'll see if we can post it again. And I hope you join us there. We can talk about anything. We can talk about data visualization. We can talk about this talk. And we can talk about what your pets did today. We'll see. All right. Thank you very much. I'll keep this screen open so somebody will, so that you can see the link for a little bit more. And I hope you join us. Nina and I are already there on the WonderMe platform. It just takes a couple of seconds to register, so it should be fine. All right. Thank you very much, and thank you for a great talk. Actually, we're just working at Spotify. I think this is something we really need for data visualization as well. So thank you.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah.